What is going on? Welcome back to the Phoenix channel. If this is your first time checking out my content, consider hitting the like button and subscribing to this channel where we cover EOS and other types of technologies. So this is going to be a rant, just a quick little update on EOS and the likes of what we've heard from Dan Larimer with Fractally. I think Fractally, my initial, I guess, sentiment on Fractally is it sounds like a very promising idea. Uh, I'm not so sure the delivery was made in a way that allows everybody to understand its value proposition specifically to EOS. So, let's decouple the two things. I mean, one, is it a good idea for humanity? I think everybody would agree the answer is yes. It sounds interesting, at least, to perhaps run this type of an experiment and see what benefits arise from folks adopting or at least trialing this technology. But the other question might be, how does say, if the expectation is EOS foots the bill 100% for the development of Fractally, how does that translate to value for EOS as a network specifically? And more importantly, I guess, just as an engineer, we look at such things as opportunity costs, right? So whenever we look to maybe perhaps consider one option, right, we have to consider what the opportunity costs are against other types of permutations or scenarios for a system. And the network is really no different, in my opinion. I mean, um, allocating a significant amount of funds to Fractally, is an option. Uh, when you consider that from the lens of ROI, usage, adoption for EOS, will the adoption be there? That might be one question. Another question might be what other features or what other systems or apps could be built in lieu or with a concept like Fractally? That is another question. And I think another interesting point that had been made in the community is, Fractally is the idea itself. Now, do we need a centralized company ran by Dan Larimer to develop all of the facets of Fractally as, say, an application built on something like EOS? And I don't know if that's actually exactly true. Just like having Dan do a number of the updates for the network, the upgrades, if you will. Um, it seems like that puts the EOS network in a similar boat, maybe in a slight change, but in a similar boat to the dependency on block one. And so I think that as a community, we need to maybe focus more on how do we start, because we really haven't yet, how do we start to have different arms perform, similar hats, right? Right now we have like one or two, maybe one entity doing like multiple different hats or multiple different roles in the network. This whole thing with Dan is a prime example. And there has been some discussions about integrating Fractally as, say, a core basis of the EOS technology, in a sense of maybe using Fractally to select block producers at some point, using Fractally to allocate a portion of the EOS foundation towards this cause, right? At least for the implementation on EOS. And so when you start to think about these things, you really have to ask yourself if incorporating these types of things or features causes other ripple effects in the network that we've just not considered, aren't aware of, puts more strain on those developers or those teams who are looking to develop their own products or services on EOS. A good example of that's the whole change, all the changes with the resource models. And even to this day, you spin up, say, a newer EOS chain, say locally on your test setup, you can get messages about dealing with those resource models that I think documentation-wise couldn't be better. Causes a lot of headaches for folks new into the system. So I think there just needs to be a little bit of consideration. So yes, we do respect Dan's contributions, and he is a great innovator. But part of having a really solid and robust system, whatever it is taking a cradle to grave perspective, and not only looking at the birth of, say, a feature or an addition to some set, but looking at its usage and its how it's maintained, right? And Dan seemingly has a tendency to, I mean, if you look at the previous projects he's done, he's created these projects and just for one reason or another left the project, right? Or left that feature set. And so you have to wonder if Fractally might be another one of those examples, right? And so that would then cause the community of the network that remains to assume the role to clean that up or maintain it in some way. And I think that sometimes gets lost with folks within EOS. And I think some that are just absolutely pro Fractally who are drinking the Kool-Aid at this point. And I would like to drink the Kool-Aid and I would like to see all the benefits, but I just am not quite, haven't heard enough to really get excited about it from that perspective, from like a value creation perspective. Again, I think it's a great idea. So that's one end of my rant. The other thing I'm looking to do here, totally different rant altogether. I'd love to hear your comments on what do you guys think of Fractally. I actually thought the Crypto Dunker, by the way, interview was better than the ByteWire interview, in my opinion. Just seemed a little bit more, I guess it entailed some of the questions I had. Not saying they were all answered, but was actually a pretty decent job, I thought, at capturing some of the concerns from the community. And I think the jury's still out on the promises of Fractally. What I'd like to hope to see is maybe a couple more example runs, even without the software. Let's see how well it does. I think that expecting people to, say, show up once a week, I don't know how, honest that is. Some of us can do that, but I don't know the general public if that's a model that really works. We'll just have to see it. But I'd like to see it actually in practice, even without the software, because we don't need the software to basically demonstrate the model at this point, right? To see its trade-offs, its advantages and disadvantages. And I'd just like to hear from you guys. Would you be ones to show up in a meeting to, say, get paid on behalf of using something like Fractally? And I guess, do you expect that it would become a political process based on the ranking that I think is involved with what's been proposed? I'd like to know your thoughts. I'll leave it there for this rant. I'll come back on a second rant. So this is Phoenix signing off. Hope everything's well. Peace.